UN officials have today described Gaza as a hellhole, with the organisation in talks to begin an aid operation as quickly as possible. Gaza has been cut off from food, water, fuel and electricity by Israel since the deadly attack by Hamas terrorists on October the 7th. World leaders have called for humanitarian aid to begin urgently, with the first of 20 aid trucks currently waiting at the Rafah border, as Egypt works to repair the bomb-damaged crossing. Meanwhile, Rishi Sunak has met with Egyptian President Abdel Fattah el-Sisi as part of his intensive diplomatic push to prevent the war from spilling over into a broader regional conflict. Let's go live to Tel Aviv now, where we can speak to journalist Jotam Confino. Jotam, hello. We spoke only yesterday. It feels like about 10 years ago, but it was yesterday at almost exactly this time. And what we hear is that there are such appalling craters, so much damage near the Rafah crossing that the aid trucks can't get in to Gaza, and therefore the delay is being caused partly by Egypt having to repair the damage first. Are you hearing any news of that kind of a thing?
I have been hearing the same thing. I think already from the early morning hours, we saw Egyptians working to reconstruct this area to make sure that there's a safe passage for all these trucks, but it's still not apparently safe. That's why the aid is still delayed. But I think it's noteworthy that already on Tuesday, we heard U.S. Secretary of State Antony Blinken say that a deal had been made between Egypt, Israel, and the United States to open the Rafah border crossing. That was Tuesday. That's 3 days ago. It just goes to show how much bureaucracy, politics, and diplomacy, how all of these things affect things that are really a matter of life and death. These people need the aid. And as Antonio Guterres pointed out, the UN Secretary General said, these trucks are just waiting here. They should be in Gaza now instead of waiting in line for days and days.
And I would imagine if you were to walk out your door in Israel and you were to ask, the first 20 people, how do you feel about those 20 trucks full of food and water and medical supplies that still haven't got into Gaza? I would imagine, you can of course correct me if I'm wrong, but I would imagine that most of the 20 people you asked at random would say, oh my God, I can't believe they still haven't gone in. They should go in urgently. They need to go in and help people and save lives. I would have thought. Is that correct? Do you think so?
It's, I would say it's a nice, warm thought about how people should think, but reality is different, and you can understand why many Israelis do not think that humanitarian aid should go into Gaza. It's not because they're cruel, it's not because they want to see kids die, it's because Israelis are currently held hostage in Gaza. So many of them don't think that aid should go in until the hostages are released. It's very simple. Their patience has run up. They don't have any more patience for Gaza. They certainly don't have any patience for Hamas. And as they keep pointing out, Hamas is the sovereign in Gaza. It is Hamas's responsibility to take care of its civilians. It's not Israel's responsibility to both defend itself against terror and allow humanitarian aid in at the same time. We have to remember there is currently a 9-month-old baby held hostage in Gaza, and we have elderly who need medical care. So for many Israelis, it's actually a slap in the face that humanitarian comes in, not because they don't want to see civilians saved, but for two reasons. First, they think that the aid is going to basically go to Hamas. And secondly, Israeli hostages are still not being allowed to go free and come back to Israel.
Is there any information at all about the hostages? Does anybody know whether they are, I can hardly bear to say it, but whether they're alive? Does anybody have any idea where they are? Because we heard about channels of communication, efforts being made to open these channels between those people holding the hostages, so the captors, the terrorists, and the parents and the friends and the loved ones who need to know, where is my baby? Where is my mother? I had a gentleman here, Noam Sagi, whose 75-year-old mother is a hostage. And he said, she should be here in England. She was meant to come here to celebrate her 75th birthday. All that was left in the place she lives in was blood. He's sitting right next to me on this sofa talking about his own mother. This is incredibly urgent. It's absolutely at the core of everybody's hearts. Is there any information at all so far?
Believe me, the frustration is overwhelming, especially among those many hundreds of families who have people in Gaza that they don't have any information about. And every day I'm on a briefing with the military, and pretty much every day journalists asked the military, any news about the hostages? Do you have any information? They keep saying, first of all, this is a political question, but second of all, it's sensitive, security. It's simply a security issue. We cannot explain to you what's happening. Everything is happening behind closed doors. Today, 3 families met with the president of the Red Cross in Geneva to discuss the future for these hostages. So there's a lot of pressure being put on Israel, the government and the military, to give some sort of explanation. But we don't know. We don't know where they hide. I assume the Israeli intelligence at this point probably know somewhere. They probably know pretty much somewhere where they are in the Gaza Strip. And one last thing, we also asked today the military spokesperson what was being asked from the Hamas members that they are currently interrogating, and he said, we are asking them all kinds of questions. So we can assume that they're also interrogating them about the hostage situation to see if they have any information. But no, long answer. I'm going to make a short one. No, we don't have any more information about where the hostages are.
Obviously, it's devastating, and I'm enormously sorry for anybody in that appalling situation. So our Prime Minister, Rishi Sunak, was in Jerusalem yesterday. Today, he's in Egypt. And I wonder what that means in Israel, how that is being received as information. Maybe it's considered a good thing because he's trying in some way to enlist Egypt to help.
Absolutely. We have to remember, Egypt and Israel do have a good relationship, even though Egypt has spoken very harshly about Israel's collective punishment, as it calls it, of the Gazans. But in general, Egyptians and Israelis are cooperating. So the fact that Sunak visits Al-Sisi and is due to take part in this summit tomorrow with Jordan and Turkey and many other countries is not really seen as a slap in the face of any sort. Israel is still just happy that Sunak is among some of the world leaders who came here during wartime. And of course, if he can somehow help at this summit to, first of all, maybe help with the hostages, that's a bonus. That's only something that Israel will welcome. But that's Israel's priority. Again, the priority is not the humanitarian aid. It's getting the hostages out, and it's assassinating every single member of Hamas in Gaza.